Stanbic IBTC, moving forward.
And it is time for Business Express this morning with Rotus. Rotus has a guest in the studio.
Good morning, Fola. Good morning, Lagos. How's everybody doing? My guest is Cheta. Cheta, he's a business traveler, so he's a frequent business traveler. So he was worried about the increased cost of getting visas to travel, and I think he's happy that the government has revised its position. We'll get into that. Cheta, good morning.
I should start invoicing you for dragging me up here.
Well, you say
This is no, this is the third time this week.
0809-444-0981, yeah?
Absolutely, that's our WhatsApp number.
Yes.
And you can also tweet at Smooth91FM, hashtag Business Express 91.
All right, let's quickly get into things. Now, first of all, I want to start off with this headline from Bloomberg. Nigeria fares fiscal crisis as debt takes big pie of revenues. If anyone's been wondering why the federal government is saying they want to impose a 5% VAT on online transactions while they're restricting FX for milk, while they're restricting FX access for food, we're facing a revenue crunch. Let's see now. According to Bloomberg, we've undershot our revenue targets by at least 45% a year since 2015 when the Buhari administration came into power. So we haven't met any revenue targets that we've set since that time. Now, granted, the revenue targets that have been set by the government have been pretty generous, pretty high, but we haven't met them. Our revenue shortfall for this past year was 51%. Was undershot by 51% as far as May of this year was concerned. So we are facing that revenue shortfall. Debt service costs are about 50% or 60, right?
67.
Yeah, 67% officially. So there's just not enough left over. About 64 naira for every 100 naira of revenue that we bring in is going towards debt. There's just not enough to face capital expenditure, infrastructure, and so on and so forth. According to Bloomberg, Nigeria spent about 2.2 trillion naira on servicing outstanding loans in 2018. It was 1.6 trillion naira, 1.6 trillion naira on infrastructure. So we're spending more on debt than on infrastructure.
And we're borrowing more.
Then you look at where we can bring in revenue. Tax to GDP is about 7%, one of the lowest in the world. Does anyone remember VADES? Does I remember VADES, the Voluntary Assets Income Declaration Scheme?
That thing.
Yes, didn't really go anywhere. So look, enough of the complaints. Bloomberg has outlined the issues that we're facing. The solutions, right? One of them is to increase taxes, of course. I've been shouting on this show now for
it's not to increase taxes per se.
Yeah.
It's to widen the tax brackets, the tax nets. Just merely increasing taxes, especially in a country where those who pay tax. I think Nigeria has about an 8.6% tax coverage. 8.6% of our citizens pay tax. That's ridiculously low.
Right.
The work really is to widen the tax brackets, which involves a lot of formalizing a lot of informal activity that happens in the country. You have a lot of all these boys that sell in Ladipo or Alaba or Kudawa in Abuja. They are not in the tax bracket.
Right.
So the only taxes they pay, or even your average Danfo driver, the only taxes they pay is budget to Agberos,
Right.
and that's that.
Right.
And of course, with the Agberos, you cannot be sure that that the money moves on the chain. So the lazy thing will be increasing taxes on people who are already victims of multiple taxation. The proposal to put to do online taxation on online transactions is also part of that laziness. It's essentially double taxation. So what needs to be done is widen the tax bracket. That's where the work is. But unfortunately, these guys, my opinion of them is not very high.
You have to look at increasing revenue. There's also cutting spending. We still come back to the subsidy bill, right?
Is it just subsidy?
Right. There's
National Assembly, 50 million per car for cars for every. That's 55 billion just about to go down the drain. I mean, see, we have this government by expenditure, as in this thing of always throwing money everywhere.
So
The president is in Tokyo now.
right.
And he
But he's there
yesterday
to look for money.
yesterday he had bilateral meetings with Benin, with South Africa. Benin is just here,
Next door.
and this is a president who has closed down the Beninese border just arbitrarily. Do you know how much trade which could have been taxed
By the
is
way,
being lost?
I was buying tomatoes at the market last weekend, and I just found that when there's during the planting period, when we're not producing enough tomatoes here, we get them from Ghana. The lady who was selling me the tomatoes was telling me that, and that because they closed the border,
A lot of it is trapped.
a lot of tomatoes were trapped. Naira. Normally I buy them for 400. So she was complaining about the border. So it was very interesting. You know,
I mean, there used to be a time that I used to complain all of these things about, of course, the way you'll get married, don't worry. The way it works is, madam will just tear you bill, as in,
right.
so then you don't have a choice but to,
of course,
to drop
food stuff,
drop the money. Otherwise, somebody is going to tell you after it's your children that are eating. So one day, after one complaint too many, she just went on strike, said, no, that I'm not going to the market unless you follow me.
So you could see for yourself.
When I followed her, I came back home, I was humble.
So it's cascading effects.
Yes.
All right. Look, so we know what we need to do. We talk about this all the time. David from Ilupeju is asking about wealth.ng. Yes, David, it's a legit site. Actually, I've checked them out. Sign up for the newsletter. Everybody that's listening to the show, sign up for newsletters with these various brokerage services. Stanbic, of course, is one of them. I get a newsletter from Stanbic as well. They send equity reports on different things going on in the market, fixed income. The views from a salesman. Dele Akintola, Tumba, he's one of the people that writes a newsletter. All these guys, sign up for them. You'll keep up with the market. You know what's going on. Very, very important. So yeah, do check out wealth.ng. I see a message from Yinka. I have to give Yinka a shout out. One of the reasons why Yinka was so angry yesterday was because, and now we're going to move into this visa thing, his passports, there was some misplacement of his date of birth, and apparently he had to go all the way to Abuja to go and sort it out. Calling immigration service, nobody was answering the phone. So Yinka, we're sorry about that, but now let's use that to go into this issue of the visas. Business travelers are looking at, not only business travelers, but schools are resuming September now. There are a lot of parents who have children overseas. That, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, is a little more FX pressure for the CBN, with all the parents are going to be demanding FX now to send their children back to school. Cheta, within 24 hours of the US saying that after talking to Nigeria for how long? A year? To trying to reduce the cost of visas for Americans. They now said, okay, well, if you're not going to talk to us, we'll reduce it. And apparently Nigeria capitulated.
Yeah, I mean, this thing for me, so a bit of background here. My job is political risk analysis, which means that it tends to intersect with the economy quite often, which is the reason why you dragged me here dragged me out of my bed this morning. Basically, this is a very classic example of everything that is wrong with the way we do things. This is essentially government by banter, government by blame, and government by knee-jerk. If you read the press release, government by knee-jerk reaction because everybody, you see the press statement that the Americans released on Tuesday was very detailed as to why they are doing this. You know, in the past, they will just increase it without saying anything.
Right.
But I think they are beginning to realize that, it's very easy for the Nigerian public to cast them as the bad guys.
Right.
So they didn't want to, so they released that they explained why they were increasing their fees and why they were adding that extra fee. And a lot of people, as a result, actually went to research and found out that, there is something called the principle of reciprocity in diplomacy. So you do this to my citizens, I do this to your citizens,
right.
Essentially. So they had been trying to get the Nigerian government for 18 months to go back on this. Nigerian government just kind of like with the whole P and ID thing. Nigerian government didn't say anything, just pretended like the issue was not there. Finally, they struck. Everybody got their knickers in a twist, and immediately the Nigerian government reacted, which is where the problem is. On the surface, it's good that the Nigerian government finally reacted, but the nature of the reaction is very arbitrary. The minister just gave an order and it was implemented. or it's going to be implemented. The Americans will eventually reciprocate, but it will not be as immediate as our own, because they have a process. They will have to. So somebody from the consulates here will have to make a request. They will have to now find out from their citizens who apply for Nigerian visas and all of that. And then, there will be a process. It's going to take a few months. There will be a process before they go. So this arbitrariness is one of the problems with doing business in Nigeria. You come in under assumptions, and then somebody just wakes up and changes everything.
We'll learn our lesson, hopefully. Kufre wants a link to the Bloomberg article. Kufre, I'll send that to you. Prince is challenging my assertion on VADES. He thinks that VADES was effective. Seke says, I don't think increasing taxes is the way forward. I think they should identify companies and individuals who are paying taxes. A lot of people earn income from businesses in Nigeria without paying taxes. Kenneth, I agree with Cheta. Instead of increasing taxes for a small proportion of the population who pay tax, let's widen the scope or the bracket of those that should be paying taxes. Benga Kamo, of course, is already talking about why did the US and why did Nigeria wait until the US increased the fees for visas, in order to reverse things. Cheta has just addressed that, and he says the Seme border is still closed and we're losing so much money. Seni, so the finance minister is technically correct. Nigeria doesn't have a debt problem; it's a revenue problem. Seni,
when more than 67% of every dollar you earn is going to service debts, you have a debt problem.
Ugona says, "Dear Rotus, I'm happy you listen to Cheta because you've been advocating for increase in taxation. Even the monies paid by Danfo drivers can be redirected to the entire government purse. Our government is simply lazy." Okay. Darlington, good morning. The introduction by FIRS to tax online purchases is double taxation. The FIRS failed to address how these firms will claim the difference between input and output VAT. The difference takes up to 3 months before it can be resolved, but in reality, it takes till eternity, in quotes. Also, Nigerian disposable income is miserable. Cheta, SBM Intelligence, you did a report on disposable income.
We did a survey recently.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Found that it's just about 37% of the addressable population that have discretionary income after expenditure on food,
which is the major thing that they spend money on. Fine for me, bad Cheta, thanks for enriching my vocab. Government by knee jerk. Lots of other messages coming in. Dakpo, Olufemi, Raymond, Leke, Jay, I see you all. Okay, let's see now. How much time do we have for about a minute? Okay, Cheta, what shall we go into in this final minute here? The foreign reserves. There's no good news though. No good news today. So according to Nairametrics, in fact, CBN data.
Stop. Okay, I'm going now. Because I'm being accused of just doom and gloom.
No, it's the truth. But let's wrap up. Foreign reserves fell by $1 billion in August. So that's coming from CBN data that Nairametrics was reporting here. No surprise as to the pressure on foreign reserves. It's why we've seen the central bank coming out and saying they want to restrict left and right. What do we do? We just hope that leadership makes the right decisions while watching everything. But Cheta, you're optimistic.
Let go of that Naira. As in, let go of that thing first.
Right.
Let the Naira find its proper value. It will be painful
in the short term.
But the long-term benefits are so unimaginable. This thing of Naira is a commodity. You use foreign reserves to preserve the peg. If foreign investment is not coming in, and the real foreign investment, which is FDI, is not coming in, then
you're stuck. Cheta Nwaeze, thank you so much for joining us today on Business Express. Everybody, I see your messages. I'll try to get to everything, the rest of what I missed on Tech Friday tomorrow. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate all your messages. Save your money. It's going to get tight. Thanks. That's Business Express for today. We should overshot our time a little bit, but that's compensation.
Have you off it?
Have you
off it?
Okay.
You want to say something else?
Yeah, no, there's what you should have said, but I